Hello everyone, welcome to a violin recital of music by master composers of the Baroque era. For those of you joining us for the first time, my name is Jeremy Rhizor and I'm the Artistic Director of the Academy of Sacred Drama. Our organization is devoted to reviving a wrongfully forgotten art form that had one of its golden ages during the Baroque period, the sacred drama. Baroque sacred drama is often called oratorio, and the Academy has presented the modern American premieres of a number of these masterpieces. We're working towards the goal of reviving a regular calendar of sacred drama, presenting fabulous and rare music of the Baroque and community-minded celebrations. During the pandemic, we're all stuck at home, but we do hope you'll join us in person when it's possible again at various venues in New York State and the surrounding area. In the meantime, please join us online. Each month, we present a lecture or conversation with experts in the field and a performance by one of the Academy's professional members. Very briefly, I'm going to say hello to you. Unfortunately, we have some technical troubles today with video, so I'm going to have to do this in sort of an audio presentation most of the time because we're having a bitrate problem that we haven't solved yet. So I apologize for that, and I'll pop in every once in a while. But in the meantime, today it's my great pleasure to launch this performance as our beginning to the online series. And you'll probably recognize some of the composers from today, like Corelli and especially Vivaldi, but I expect that Porpora and Lonati are probably a bit more unfamiliar. This program was originally intended to be a live recital in May, but that got canceled because of the pandemic. In order to pursue the Italian theme that was originally planned while staying safely at home, I'm going to do something rather unusual today. Each piece on the program was originally intended to be played with a bass line harmonized by harpsichord and or a bowed bass of some sort, whether that was a cello or a viola da gamba or even a violone. I will be playing alone today, however. I selected pieces that for the most part can simulate the chords that are in those missing parts, whether that's because I'll be playing double stops, chords, or fast arpeggiated notes. Each of these pieces shows off a vast emotional range as well as some virtuosic requirements from the violinist, so wish me luck. Before I launch into the program, I'd like to invite you to comment and ask questions on our Discord channel. If you're tuning in on GiveButter, scroll down to the story section to access that link. And if you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description. You'll be asked for your name, and that's whether it's a nickname or a real name, your email, and a password. And by registering, you're going to be agreeing to Discord's terms of service and privacy policy, so you might want to take a look at that. I'll answer your questions in the middle of the program and at the end if there's time. So without further ado, I'll launch into the famous opening sonata of Corelli's Opus 5. That was Arcangelo Corelli's Violin Sonata in D major from his Opus 5 sonatas. Corelli was a member of the Arcadian Academy, the organization which provided the inspiration for the formation of the Academy of Sacred Drama. He was also well known for leading ensembles from the violin, which is something that I also do with the Academy. Some works come down to us through manuscripts, and others were printed in editions by publishers. Corelli's Opus 5 is an example of a published work that ended up all over Europe and beyond. It was an immensely popular collection, well loved and widely distributed. Before I move on to my arrangement of the Lonati Sonata, I wanted to share an excerpt from a book I read recently. It's called The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. At this point in the book, the main character is still a child, and he's just lost both of his parents, and he's stuck by himself in the middle of the woods, and the only thing he has is his father's lute. Eventually, I could play from when I woke until the time I slept. I stopped playing the songs I knew and started inventing new ones. I had made up songs before. I had even helped my father compose a verse or two. But now I gave it my whole attention. Some of those songs have stayed with me to this day. Soon after that, I began playing. How can I describe it? I began to play something other than songs. When the sun warms the grass and the breeze cools you, it feels a certain way. I would play until I got the feeling right. I would play until it sounded like warm grass and cool breeze. I was only playing for myself, but I was a harsh audience. I remember spending nearly 3 whole days trying to capture wind turning a leaf. By the end of the second month, I could play things nearly as easy as I saw and felt them. Sun setting, behind the clouds, bird taking a drink, dew in the bracken. Somewhere in the 3rd month, I stopped looking outside and started looking inside for things to play. I learned to play riding in the wagon with Ben, singing with father by the fire, watching Shandi dance, grinding leaves when it is nice outside, mother smiling. Needless to say, playing these things hurt, but it was a hurt like tender fingers on a lute strings. I bled a bit and hoped that I would callous soon. I think that passage from this book sort of encapsulates the spirit of what I try to go for when I play violin. Just replicating notes on a page is not nearly enough, and sometimes the technical challenge of notes in a page can get in the way of those loftier goals, but those are the sort of live emotions that touch you directly that I think is the reason for playing something like instrumental music, and the power of instrumental music, the power of instrumental music when you're playing with a singer, for example, when you're accompanying a singer and embellishing the words in the line. This is something that I think could be the driving force behind a lot of musicians to capture what's in the world and what's inside us in the most visceral and binding way. And even though I know I have a long way to go before I'm able to achieve such a thing, that's what I strive for, and that's what I think is worthy to strive for in making music. So now I'll move on to the Lonati. For most people, Lonati is an unknown. He had a prominent role in Rome in leading the string orchestra of Queen Christina of Sweden. He led her string orchestra, and he became known as the Queen's Hunchback. He was also a singer, became friends with the infamous composer Stradella, and there's also some unsubstantiated talk of him being the first violin teacher of the composer Gemignani. He made a lot of difficult demands in that piece, so he must have been quite an excellent violinist. Now I'm going to take a moment to go and check the Discord channel. It would also be a great time to donate on our Give Butter page if you're able to do that today. There's a time lag between when I'm talking and when you see me talk, or hear me talk in this case. So if I miss some of your questions now, I'll be sure to answer them after this performance. So just give me 1 second to access Discord. So we have a question from David. Was it common back in the day to play this rep without the figured bass accompaniment? The short answer is no. It wasn't common. There is lots of talk about the Corelli and whether or not how many bass instruments should play with someone. So an example is like you could just play with a cello accompaniment, just the cello playing the bass line, and maybe the cello would do some embellishments. But another possibility is just playing with harpsichord, for example, or just with organ or something like that. So choosing one or another, there's a larger question there about doing one or the other, but in general, you would actually play with a bass accompaniment. It looks like that's the only question right now. So I'm also going to mention briefly that I'm playing this concert on a pretty new violin still from Gabriela Guadalajara in New York, and it's from 2017 now, and I'm in the process of still breaking it in, and I think it's a beautiful, colorful instrument, and I'm having a good time with that. So now we'll move on to the Vivaldi, a little bit of minor in the midst of all this major. Vivaldi is by far the most recognizable composer on our program today. He was a priest who taught at an all-girls school. His first post there was as a violin teacher, and he rose through the ranks of the faculty. Along with writing great instrumental music, he also wrote incredible sacred drama, which I hope to be able to do one day with the Academy, and I do hope you'll be able to join me when that happens. The final piece of my recital is a work by Porpora, one of the Baroque era's great singing teachers. He was also a composer of oratorio. Joseph Haydn was one of his students. This is another extremely creative, virtuosic work that's rarely, if ever, heard, so I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to tune one more time. It's a very hot day today. Lots of unforgiving things today, but thanks for tuning in. And for those of you who have just caught the end right now, we don't have a picture today because of a bandwidth problem, so we'll rectify that in future times. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for so much for joining me today, and next time we'll actually have Continuo with this program. I hope you'll join us next time on July 10th for a conversation with Tony Lopresti, a classically trained mime and the Academy's movement director for this past season's oratorios. It was a great hit, and I think everyone will be looking forward to seeing what he has to say about adding movement to these pieces. Also, if you heard about us on Facebook, please be sure to like our page, and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. You can also sign up for our mailing list on our website. These are easy and free ways to stay in touch, and they really help us spread the news about our work, and we really do need your help. Thanks again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in person at a performance sometime soon. Have a great evening.